Welcome back to Cooking with Glenn and Katie.
Today we're going to be making some Amish caramels.
We first learned about these in Shipshewana, Indiana, when we were eating at a restaurant and they were selling them for $1 each. My dad loved them, as we all did, and said, hey, I can learn how to make these. So he Googled it, and we can't wait to show you guys the recipe.
You'll love it. It's delicious. Today with the caramels, I like to have an apple. And so I'm going to pick an apple off our apple tree. The ingredients we'll use to make the caramel candy will be light corn syrup, and I use the Cairo brand. 1 stick of salted butter, 2 cups of light brown sugar, 2 cups of heavy whipping cream divided. You'll use 1 cup at the very beginning, and then when it starts boiling, we'll put another cup in there. And then finally, we'll be putting 1 tablespoon of vanilla flavoring. A thermometer is very important in making this recipe. You could do it without using the thermometer by doing a test for the softball stage, and that's getting just a little bit out of the pan and putting it in some water and seeing a little ball form. And then when you put the ball on your hand after it cools, it kind of flattens out. But you don't want to do that. You want to get a thermometer. They're not that expensive. These are standard candy thermometers. This is the one I normally use to make it. All the thermometers have it marked the softball stage. It's 235 degrees. And then you can have the electronic one. This is an electronic one here, but I'll show you my favorite. If you look at this one, you've got a long cord. You can stick this in the pot and you can just stick this on the side. In fact, it's got magnets on the back. So if it's on the stove, you can just stick it to your stove. But it says 77 degrees. That's where the temperature it is in the kitchen. And then I've got 235 degrees. And this is what I want it to be, so I'll know when it's finished and it's ready to pour. It is important to have the right pot to make this. It boils and boils and gets higher and higher. You'll be amazed. This is a 3.5 quart pot. And when I make it in this pot, the boil comes all the way up to the top. And it kind of scares me. And so you need a larger pot. This is probably a 5 quart pot. And this is just a little bit bigger. And when the boil comes up, it won't overflow. And that's very important. Before we get started, it's very important to butter the pan you'll be pouring the caramel mixture in. And I'm gonna go around the sides. Look how liberal this is, and I'm buttering it. You want a lot of butter. It's very important to butter it well before you start making the caramel, because once you do that, your full attention needs to be on the pot here. So do it before you start cooking. I put the thermometer in the pot, so it's just sitting on the bottom. I have the temperature on high, and I'm gonna add the butter. And then I'm gonna start adding all the ingredients in here. I'm coating the bottom of it. I'm gonna put the Cairo syrup in. And before I put the Cairo syrup in this container, I sprayed it with Pam so that all the syrup would come out. Here's the brown sugar, and the secret is you have to pack it in there. So it's all packed in, and now I'm going to put it in. And now I'm adding in the whipping cream. I want you to know that I've already poured my cup of heavy whipping cream so that I'll be ready to add it when this starts boiling. One thing that's very important is that you don't use a plastic spoon. It needs to be a wooden spoon. So your hand doesn't get hot like it would be if it was metal, and it won't melt like it would if it was a plastic spoon. I'm constantly stirring this caramel mixture, and you can see it starting to bubble. If you look at the thermometer, you see it's 209 degrees. Water boils at 212 degrees, and so now it's got a rolling boil. I'm going to start adding the 2nd cup of heavy whipping cream. And as I add it, I do not want this to stop boiling. You want to keep it boiling the entire time, so you add it slow. And if you see that it's not boiling, or slowing down a little bit, just stop until it starts boiling again and then add a little bit more. There's no hurry, so just take your time. This is 214 degrees, and it will stay 214 degrees for a while. Then all of a sudden it'll start climbing up in temperature, and then all of a sudden it'll get to 235 degrees. But notice how the liquid is bubbling up in the pan. This has measurements on the side, and it's like 3.5 quarts right now. You can see how it bubbles and it rises. It's 221 degrees, so the temperature is moving up. But look at the volume of the caramel mixture. It has reduced to about 2 quarts here. It was 3.5 quarts, and so as it progresses, you can see it changes a bit. They look like little fish or koi wanting some food coming to the surface there. Little big mouths there. Now it's 234 degrees now. You see how fast it went? 234 in just a few seconds. It's going to be 235. So we'll listen to the beep in just a minute. It's beeping, so it's time to take it off the burner. I just put the vanilla in. Now it's time to pour it into the pan here. I have the caramel mixture in here. It's going to cool. I'll leave it on the counter on a rack for 1 hour, and then I'll put it in the refrigerator for at least an hour before I cut it. After about 15 minutes or so, when it cools down a little bit and starts to solidify, I'll be putting some salt, and I use coarse sea salt, and I'll sprinkle that on about half of it because some people like sea salt, some people don't, and so I normally make half and half. And now I've got some sea salt, so I'm just going to sprinkle it on here. It's going to be a topping, which will make it really pretty when people unwrap it. Okay, I have the caramel candy out of the refrigerator. Now I'm going to slice it. Oh yeah, this feels so good. Only slice what you're going to be cutting. So I'm going to cut this strip down here, and now I'm going to cut it into little pieces here. So I cut that in half, that in half, that in half, and that in half. Let's see what it looks like. The first piece is kind of hard to get out of here, but look at this caramel. Look how beautiful it's coming out. Look at that. Perfect. Soft, creamy. It'll melt in your mouth. After you have your candies ready, you want to wrap them up. I just used plain old wax paper. I estimate about 6 inches. I rip it off. I cut it in half. Just fold it over, cut it in half. I call that the hamburger fold. It's kind of like the size of a hamburger bun. So I'll do that. And then I do the hot dog fold, which is like that. It's kind of the shape of a hot dog. So I'm going to cut it right here in the center. Now I got 4 pieces. It doesn't have to be pretty. I put the candy in the center, and then I roll it up. Put it together like that. And then I twist the 2 sides in. And there you go. Okay, we made some caramels today, so we're going to try them. This apple came from our apple tree at the outside. It's a black Arkansas apple. I've got this caramel sauce that we can put on the apple. And I want you to try it because apples and caramel go perfect together. Then I'd like for you to try the candy.
It looks like candy.
It does, doesn't it? Listen, look at that apple. See how pretty that is? There you go. The gooier it is, the better it's going to be. Man, that's going to be good. Taste it. See what you think of it.
I don't like this part.
Okay, well, I'll peel it for you.
That's good.
Does the flavors work together? They do, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Good.
This is a caramel. It tastes very good. What I like about this caramel is that it doesn't get stuck on your teeth. It's not chewy, it kind of melts in your mouth.
Now let me try it. Mmm.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm. Mm. That is just the perfect treat.
Well, thanks for joining us this week. We had a great time.
And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead. That way you'll get notifications for next week's episode and the episodes beyond that. And if you'd like to comment, let us know what your thoughts are about the caramels. If you've made them before, if you're gonna make them, if you have any suggestions, any feedback at all, we'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to check out our Instagram and Facebook, which are both Cooking with Glenn and Katie, as well as our blog, which is cookingwithglennandkatie.blogspot.com.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye!